Hi, I'm BJ, and this is the Arcane Alienist Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Arcane Alienist. This will be kind of a longer episode, although I think my last couple of Borg episodes have been longer than I prefer. I like to keep my episodes to right around 30 minutes, give or take. But rather than continue to edit this, and you'll notice the last time I didn't do a narration. I'm not going to do one in this finale either. I think it's links, adding a lot of links to the episodes, and it's kind of fun. I know it's kind of interesting, and a couple of people have commented they like it, but I kind of want to wrap this up and move on to the next thing. Either the next adventure of this character, or if I do some more live play, maybe try a different game. Um, anyway, also it's just a long series. This is going to be the seventh one, and rather than stretch this out to 8, 9, 10 episodes, let's just call it good. I know it's a long episode. If you just want to listen to part of it and then come back at a later time and finish it off, that's fine with me. But again, I'm gonna just go right into the live play. So here we go. I guess it would be more accurate to say the real time play, or the real play, or the solo play, whatever this is. It's not live. I recorded it live, sitting in my house with an audience of 0, but well, you know what I mean. Anyway, here we go. Hello. So the last time we left off, Eldar had found what is the final room of this dungeon. It is a small cavern. It was described when I rolled it up as an unholy cavern, and a random creature which I'm supposed to generate using the monster approaches from the Phylactery supplement. So let's see what this monster is, and then we'll figure out what happens to Eldar and his dogs. So first thing we've got to do is roll some d12s. So there's table A, B, and C. This describes the monster, but then the results also tell you a few things about it. So I should probably grab a pencil and jot this stuff down as I roll. Table A. And I dropped my die. It fell on the floor. That doesn't count, right? Okay. 9. So table A says crawling like liquid. Ooh, that's not good. Crawling like liquid. Table B, I get an 11. With protruding bones. Oh, that's another. That was true of the last one as well. And finally, table C, I get a 1, hissing, and it cuts like a knife. So the question is it hissing and it also cuts like a knife, or is there some sort of magical effect that the hiss causes a wound like a knife? I think that's much more creepy and on brand for Borg. So let's stick with that. Well, let's see what the other results say, and then maybe not. Look at the dice you rolled. The greatest result is its morale. Well, the greatest result I rolled is an 11. So morale 11. This thing is highly unlikely to give up, surrender. You have to roll an 11 or 12 on a 2d6 for that to. Or I'm sorry, I guess it would be a 12 on a 2d6. The lowest result is its damage, and there's a table to convert that. Well, the lowest result was a 1. So that's a d4 of damage if you roll a 1 or 2. Okay. Use the middle or the high result for a more powerful creature. The middle result was a 9. That would be a d10 or d12. Well, this is kind of the tail end of the dungeon here, so let's just stick with the d4. Whichever table had the highest result determines its armor. Well, the highest result was on table B. That was where we got the 11. And that is a minus d2 armor. So it will resist 1 to 2 points of damage. Okay. More than anything, what does this creature want to do? That is a d20 roll. I get a 2. Devour every living thing it seizes. Okay. And then a terrible trait. Roll d20. I got a 2 on that one as well. 2 to 4. Can and will converse. Attempts to persuade PCs to assist in its aim. Okay, so maybe the first interaction with this thing is not to attack, but to try to maybe this hissing voice that cuts like a knife. It only cuts like a knife if it uses some sort of attack. But all right, so if you recall, what we had here was the room that I came to in here was a catacomb. It was already had dead people in it, probably from long ago. But this is also where the thieves guild has been dumping its dying members. And I think we didn't really encounter any other thieves in the dungeon. So maybe the one I fought when I first came in was the last one left. Although one popped up as a zombie during the end of our last encounter here in the catacomb. But here this creature is behind this door. So let's see what happens. Eldar still has one tome. One tomen. He has one omen left to use if he needs. He also has 3 uses of his spells. Either the Daemon of Capillaries, well, power, not spell, or death, although death seems to be pretty extreme. He may not want to use that one just now. And of course, we've got a pile of loot that we've sort of stashed here. And if assuming he survives, we're going to have to figure out how he's going to get all this stuff out, because otherwise it's going to exceed his capacity to travel. But that's a problem for another time. We still have to do a dungeon move to determine, even though we know this is the last, and it's been a while since I recorded the last segment. I can't remember if I did this already. But procedurally, we kind of know this is the last room in the dungeon. But when you make a dungeon crawling move, the strong hit, if you're still looking for the special rooms, we'll get a special room. We've cleared all the special rooms, so a weak hit gives you a generic room. If you're out of strong or special rooms, a strong hit also gives you a generic room. So this just gave us a generic room, but we knew it was here. So I didn't actually roll to see what it was. But you also have to roll, because if you do a fail, that means there's some mishap as you're trying to leave the room you're already in to go to the next area. So let's see what we get. This is a DR6 dungeon, so we've only got a bit of 6, and we've got a +4 to our roll because we've already found all the special rooms. So I'd have to roll like, a 1 or a 2 on both of these die for it to be a fail, but it can still happen. I got a 14 and a 16, which is effectively an 18 and a 20, so no problem there. That is a critical success, or I'm not a critical success, a strong hit. So no mishaps as I, and that could be some enemy. The fail, if you get it, for example, could be an enemy pops up. There's a trap. There's a calamity as you leave the room. It could be that the door is locked and you just got to. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, the zombie I fought last time was the calamity as I was trying to leave the room. So, all right, here we go. What happens here? Well, there's no real surprise in Borg. I've been thinking about, you could always import it. I think probably, though, when you roll initiative, it's not both sides rolling initiative. It's 1 to 3, the enemies go first, 4 to 6, the players go first. I think that's sort of because there's no rules for what happens to a surprised person or surprised creature. I think there's simply how we're playing it here is you could choose to try to enter the room quietly, and on a success, that means that you can probably surprise or ambush whatever's in there if you so desire. Or you could simply say if you win initiative, that represents the enemy being surprised or caught off guard enough that you get to act before it acts. Of course, it'll get to retaliate before you go to another round. But again, the idea that these are very simple, straightforward, even though there's a lot of tables and a lot of procedures, they go very fast. So, or at least they would if I didn't talk ad nauseum about them, right? So, well, we'll see what happens. We're going to go ahead and roll a d6 and see what kind of how the initiative plays out as Eldar opens this door. It is a 1. The enemies begin. So I think he opens this door. There's this cavern. It is an unholy cavern, so there's probably some unclean, sinister, supernatural thing here. I wonder, because this is described as a puddle of ooze or something that moves around like liquid. It's just some sort of soupy pile of ooze with bones protruding from maybe where it has consumed things from this, maybe some of the thieves, some goblins, but perhaps even some of the bodies that were buried here before. That's maybe what has happened here. And this is actually the source of what's going on. The body in the crypt before, maybe that was a person who was actually, that was seemed to be the monster with the tendrils growing everywhere. Maybe it's been cursed by this thing right here. And that's why it became what it did. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll go with that. So here's the actual source of the problem, which implies if I hadn't found this room, if I just left because I thought I was done, the dungeon could reset itself. If I ever decided to come back for something I left behind, or needed some other information, or wanted to explore it again, would come back and find, oh no, it's started all over again. That's interesting. So it also makes me wonder about rolling out the entire dungeon before explaining it and then seeing how everything falls, and then sort of creating the narrative around it, around what's actually going on in the dungeon. That I wonder about that as well. But I think that probably eliminates some of the emergent play that comes out of this. However, if I was going to use this method as a game master to prepare ahead of time for players to run through, that might be a useful way to do it. Anyway, I'm off on a little bit of a tangent instead of resolving this last room of the dungeon. So the monster has this I'm thinking it hisses in some way. It's this sort of liquid, like I said, ooze of a mound of a creature. I'm picturing the creature from the Star Trek: The Next Generation in the episode where Tasha Yar dies. That's this black tarry. What was it called? Armus. It's just a being of pure hatred and evil. It's black sludge. Of course, it had more of a deep booming voice, but this one maybe has more of an insidious, creepy, whispering voice. But it probably looks like that black tarry mass, only this time it's got bones protruding and maybe skulls and bits of body parts. So we'll whisper in some way, you join with me, join with us. What do you think? I wonder what its overall motivation is. It wants you to help it in of course, its desire is to consume. We said to consume everything it encounters. It's probably stuck here. It can and will converse. Attempts to persuade PCs to assist it in its aim. So maybe it's almost like Venom, like a symbiote. Join with me or join with us. I hunger. Help me satiate my hunger, and you'll live forever. You'll be powerful. So I think a question is, would Eldar put 2 and 2 together? That, yeah, I'll live forever, but I'll be stuck here in this mass of twisted, mutated limbs, the way the thing I just killed a minute ago is stuck here. Let's take a look. So that would be, I think, a presence roll. So I get a +1 to that. Roll 2d20 and see what kind of success I get. I got double 13s for 14 and 14. I'm trying to beat a 12. So yeah, I think Eldar kind of gets what's going on here, and he wants no part of this. Rather than slam the door, though, I think he will try to kill this thing. There's really nothing. I'm going to check the description of this spell. I don't want to be too. You want to be, I think, the kind of game master that is say yes and allow players when they do something creative. You want things to work for them for the most part and not create too many barriers. But you don't want to just everything to be simple and gimme and there never be a challenge to solving a problem. And the reason I'm saying that is this his kind of go-to power has been the Daemon of Capillaries. One creature suffocates for a d6 round, losing 1/4 hit points per round. Well, it just says it suffocates. It doesn't really. I've been describing it as sort of choking on their own blood, as sort of the capillaries in their bodies rupture. But it doesn't really say that that it's a blood. It's maybe sort of implied by the term capillary, but it just says it suffocates for a d6 round, losing a d4 hit point per round. So that's one option. The other one is death. All creatures within 30 feet lose a total of 4d10 hit points. I'm assuming that excludes the person casting it. If I were to use that, it would probably kill the dogs, which are my allies, and have sort of saved me a few times. So I don't think I want to use the death spell, but I might go ahead and try the Daemon of Capillaries just to see. That's kind of been a go-to thing, and I do have a bow and arrow. I could shoot at it, but hey, I am an esoteric hermit. The magic is sort of my go-to thing, or should be anyway. All right. So with that, I will roll my casting to see if my power goes. I'm trying to beat a 12. I get a +1 for presence. And there's a problem. If you fail to cast, you take some damage. So, and I rolled a 2, which means normally when you cast a spell and it fails, and I don't think I've had a failure yet. If you fail, the spell doesn't work and you lose D2 hit points and become Disney for the next hour. During this time, powers will always fail in the worst possible way. So I think I will probably want to use my last omen to re-roll that. Omens. You can use an omen to deal maximum damage with one attack, re-roll a die, yours or someone else's, lower the damage dealt to you by D6, neutralize a crit or fumble, lower a test DR by 4. So I could have lowered that to an 8. It wouldn't have done me any good. I rolled a 2, which is a 3 with my +1. So I am just going to use my omen to re-roll that. And I rolled an 11. My +1, that's a 12, so it is successful. So I'm going to mark the omen off my character sheet. And because that is successful, the creature will now, let's figure out how long it's going to suffocate. Roll a d6. For 4 rounds, it will suffocate, and it will take d4 hit points per round. So we'll roll my initial damage. That's 2. But it gets to do a little bit of damage reduction. Let's see how much it reduces the damage by. It reduces it by 2. So that does nothing. Although, does armor really help you with that? That's an interesting question. Let me check the rules. I'm going to pause the recording and check. I'm going to say, since it's not really wearing armor, this just seems to be inherent ability of this creature, that and it's a magical creature, that that damage reduction is going to stand. So we tried to cast a spell. The spell worked. It just didn't take damage this round. I need to mark off one of my uses of my powers. So I have 2 left. So we are going to roll initiative again and see what happens. I got a 2, which means the monster gets to go. It will try to use this hissing now attack against Eldar, which I think
I would call that a, well, I guess I'm just rolling defense, aren't I? That's how it always works. So it's a DR12 against my agility. I don't have an agility bonus. I rolled a 13, so it doesn't work. So at this point, the monster is kind of implied that it can move, right? Crawling like liquid, so it does kind of ooze forward, so it can move. So it's not like I can just run away and it not follow me. I guess I am going to try to buy some time though. I'm going to slam the door, and because I'm just in the doorway, I'm going to slam the door, step back, slam the door, and run across to the next door that out of this room, and see if that slows it down long enough for it to take some damage. And I'm going to order the dogs to run away, get out of here, because if I have to go nuclear, then they won't get hurt. I'm assuming that the Mastiff now, because I'm no longer speaking in a language it can understand, but I'm assuming if Erm takes off running, the big dog will follow it if I point. So, okay, so I'm going to move back through this room and try to wait and just slam the door on it again if it doesn't die. So it's going to have to probably spend its turn either opening the door or sliding under the door. I'm assuming with all those bones in it, unless it wants to divest itself of those, it's going to have to like push the door open somehow, or maybe it can whip a tendril out and twist it, some kind of tentacle, So we're dealing with the worst aspects of Argus venom and the T1000. But it's going to take its turn to do that, and in the meantime, it will take some more damage. So it was on round 4. Now it's down to round 3. And it takes, I roll 1 damage. It's going to resist that. Okay. So what happens on the next round? We roll initiative again. 6. I win. So I'm going to wait to see if it comes through the door, which I guess it will this time. But let's see what kind of damage it takes. There's a 4. Good. How much damage does it resist? It only resists 1, so it takes 3. And it has, check back on my notes here. Its morale is 11. D4 damage. Did I not roll its hit points? I did not. I've neglected that. Roll the damage die and double the results, and that'll be its hit points. It does a D4 damage, so I'll roll the D4. I roll a 3, so it has 6 hit points, and it just lost 3 of them, so it's down to 3 hit points. Okay, so it comes through the door, and I wait to see what happens. I'm assuming it's coming after me. I guess we roll initiative again. I rolled a 6. I get initiative again as well. So let's see what kind of damage it takes. I roll a 3. It resists 1 point of damage, so it is down to 1 hit point. It does not have perfect morale. Let's see if that's enough to cause it to want to slide back into its tunnel. 4. No, it does not want to retreat, does it? Okay. I am concerned with all these bodies in here that somehow it may just be able to feed on them and somehow grow stronger. So I don't want to let it. Maybe it's time to make a stand here. Of course, it's going to try to attack me, so I do need to roll my defense. Again, with this sort of whispering, knife-like magical attack. 20. Wow. So on a critical success on a defense, you gain a free attack. I am going to shoot at it with my bow. And I roll a 9 plus 1 is 10. I don't think that's going to hit it. What did I say? Oh, yeah. It's a test, not a DC. So I had to get a 12, and I did not. All right. We'll roll initiative again. This time, I think I am going to. We'll see what happens. Rolled a 5. I again gain initiative. It takes 3 points of damage. It can only resist up to 2, so that will kill it. Okay. Yay for the Daemon of Capillaries. All right, so this thing is dead. I realized that I was supposed to something that was in the heart of this maze, although, the physical heart of the maze, nothing was there except a bunch of feathers. I'm going to assume this ooze-like substance is what the nobleman has to drink in order for me to complete the quest that the ghost gave me. It was saying that the count goes insane at night, so having to drink from something at the heart of this dungeon would save him. So, well, that's not good. We will. How do I take a sample of this? I have a couple of vials of poison, but I want to keep those. I had that flask of liquor back there that I dropped. I suppose I will collect it in the empty. I'll pour out what liquor is left and collect this into that flask. So Eldar is tired. He needs to rest. He's pretty much explored the whole dungeon and taken care of anything, but there's still those goblins out front. They kind of, they were arguing, and he just sort of slipped by them without 100% making sure that they were okay with him. They were sort of disagreeing on whether to let him out. Goblins are cursed creatures in Mörk Borg. They're humans who have been they have to kind of haplessly watch as these transformed bodies do evil things. So they were sick and they were dying. I think probably it's intended that that's not actually, I sort of treated it more like typical goblins. Maybe on some level, they're even aware that they're doing, even that argument that there's a person inside there who's still kind of helpless, that this is kind of the nature of what they do, and they become these goblin-like things. Anyway, that is to say, he is tired. He does not want to put up with any more crap. So he estimates, we're if we stay right here, we're 30 feet away from those goblins, and he's just going to go back to the front door and cast death and kill those goblins so that they're not a potential problem while he tries to rest up. So we do have to. He's got two spells left. Let's see. Can he approach them quietly? We'll try an adventuring move and see what happens. I got a 19, which I don't have a bonus to my agility, and an 8. That is a weak success, or a weak hit. So the rules for a weak hit kind of say you succeed, but not as perfectly. There should be some sort of complication. So he was trying to come quietly. He succeeds at that. Let's say the complication is, though, some more goblins are there now. There were 4 before. Let's see. Let's say there's a lot of times on random encounters, it seems to indicate you use a D2. So we'll say there's either 1 or 2 more goblins. Let's see how many show up. There are 2 more goblins. So now there are 6 goblins out there. So if this doesn't work, he's going to be in even more trouble. But hey, we committed to this course of action. We're learning this game. Let's see what happens. So I will roll to cast the death. And if I don't, I'm also going to take damage and be sick. And that might be the end of Eldar here. Let's see what my roll is. I roll a 12. +1 for my presence is 13, so the spell works. So everybody takes, was it 4d10 damage? Let me check the book again. That's nasty. That is nasty. Of course, the implication being the person using this power has to get out away from any allies or bystanders that they would not want to hit in order to avoid collateral damage and only target people they're willing to damage. Of course, I guess if you're not a very nice person, maybe you don't care. But such are the decisions we have to make in games like this, right? Getting better. Yeah, find it in the book. 4d10 hit points. All creatures within 30 feet lose a total of 4d10 hit points. All right. Let me roll. I happen to have 2 sets of percentile die here, so I can just treat the d100s as d10s, and that will do it. 7, 9, so that's 16. 4 for 20. 28 points of damage, and goblins at the most only... I don't know if their armor would help on this because it is, of course, it is their ropey flesh, which is part of their curse. But regardless of that, let me check the goblin, but I don't have that many hit points, even if they had their full damage reduction. Goblins have 6 hit points, so even if I reduce that to what, 26 points, yeah, that kills them, and that is it for this adventure. I think what will happen is Eldar will camp here, make camp in the shelter of this tomb. This seems to be safe for the moment. He's got a couple of dogs that can keep watch in case something starts to approach the entrance in the night. And that will be the end of this adventure. There is a camping move you can do as part of solitary defilement, so we will do that. And you use your presence, so that is good. I get a +1. If you're just trying to catch your breath, in peace. That's a DR9. If you're actually trying to camp, it's a DR12. Let's see what happens. Oh no, failure. No sleep for you. Something terrible is about to happen. The next attempt at resting after resolving whatever encounter ensues will be 50-50 chance of either a strong or weak hit. What happens? Well, we do have a table for that in Feretory. So I will roll a D. It says roll a D12. And I roll a 6. A wild beast steals 1d4 rations of food. The PC with the highest presence, which is me, tests the notice. Well, we'll see if I notice it. (19 + 1 is 20). So I do notice that it's trying to steal the rations. Can I stop it? Fox, Wolverine, or a sludge ape? Well, let me find some stats for these things if they're available. Let's just say that it's a small beast. It's probably like a fox or something like that. It has roughly the same stats as who's a little vicious dog, and we'll call it that. So I do catch it. Now we'll roll initiative to see if I can stop it. That's a 2, so the monster goes first. So I'm going to say it gets away. It just turns and runs, and we would have to pursue it out into the wild in the middle of the night. So how many rations do I lose? 3. Oh, that's not good because I only have 1 day's worth of food. But okay, there we go. Which means now I'm going to have to try to rest and then go hunting for food. That's probably the best for the next phase of the adventure of him setting out. Let's see if we can get a decent rest because I do need to resupply, and then we'll go try to forage for food. Okay, that's a 15 and a 9. So that is already a weak failure. So what happens on a weak failure on a camping move? We may not have much of a choice. Introduce a reason for restless night or interruption. Well, let's roll on our D12 again and see what happens. I got an 11. A band of blind albino cultists pass by quietly chanting eerie hymns to their alligator goddess. So, maybe they choose not to stop, but they do come by on some sort of weird processional in the night, and it makes it very hard to rest. So I do not get a full night's rest. What do I do get back? I gain I gain D2 hit points. So I did roll 2 there. I actually was at max, so I didn't need to regain any hit points. I really just needed to rest. Restore 1 omen and 1 power. So I get back up to 3 powers and 1 omen. Okay, let's try. If I were to get a strong hit, I'd get D6 hit points, you get a full D4 hit points back if I needed it. If sleeping, you re-roll your omens and powers like you normally would. I've got 1 day of food. I actually have no food. I'm going to forage around the area without leaving the area just to see what we can get. Okay, so this says, I roll a D6. On a 1, I'm going to get lost and spend the day just trying to find my way back. But the other rolls are generally beneficial. So let's roll a D6. Spend the day foraging. I rolled a 4. You track down a savage beast, killing it, and it nets D8 plus 2 rations. Okay. Well, that's good. Let me roll an 8-sided die. 5. So I have 7 days worth of rations again. So let's try one more time to I'm at full hit points. I'm not totally without powers. I do have 1 omen that I haven't tried to use, although I spent the day, so I am going to have to sleep. So I might as well do a camping move and see what happens. There we go. 11 plus 1 is 12. 13 plus 1 is 14. That is a strong hit. So I get to re-roll my omens and restore my powers as usual. So I roll a d4 and add my presence for the powers I get for the day, and I roll a 3. So plus 1, so I have 4 powers for the day, and I get to roll a d4 for the number of omens I get, and I rolled a 2. So I have 2 omens, and effectively a plus 2 bonus to any kind of luck. But you know what I forgot to do on the 2 nights that I camped? I forgot to roll on the calendar of Necrobell to see if a doom or if something bad happens. So let's see. Start with a D20. Now, as long as I don't roll a 1, it should be okay. I rolled an 11. Let's see about the day before, because that was the first morning after I camped. I camped another night before this current one. I rolled 19, so we are good there. So no miseries have occurred. What will happen is if I do a follow up this with will probably be Eldar traveling to the city he was bound for. We'll use some of these overland travel rules from solitary defilement, and then maybe we'll even get to a city crawl at the end of that if we keep going. But for now, we've done this, and we will do one other thing, and that is getting better, which is the leveling up equivalent in Mörk. So when you get better, the following things happen. This is on page 33 of the main Mörk Borg rulebook. You roll 60-10. You can see if you're gonna get more hit points. How this works. So let me roll here. You roll 60-10. If the result is equal to or greater than your current maximum HP, increase it by a d6. So you see, the probability is really good that you're going to get to increase your hit points early on, but then at some point you're going to cross a threshold where it becomes difficult, very difficult. It's kind of like regaining luck points in Call of Cthulhu, right? So I got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I got to roll 2 more. 14 plus 8 is 22, plus 9 is 31. Yeah, no problem. So I do get to roll a d6 and add that many hit points. And I roll 6. Oh, wow. All right, so I go up to 10 hit points. I'm pretty tough now. Left in the debris, you find, roll a d6. 2. Nothing. Okay, if you roll a 4 higher, you find some silver or a scroll. So, nothing there. Ability changes. Roll a d6 against every ability. Results equal to or greater than the ability, increase it by 1 to a maximum of plus 6. Results below the ability, decrease it by 1. This is one that I think a lot of people are put off by. Although I think if you're going to use this either sparingly, or if you did this very sparingly, I think it would you're suffering a long-term loss, particularly to the stat that may be the most important to the type of character you're creating. But if you do getting better quite often, then it'll come back. It also says abilities from -3 to +1 are always increased by 1 unless the d6 is a result of a 1. So you really got to blow the roll to actually have an ability get bad. So all mine, basically what that says, because my abilities are 0, 0, and +1 and +1. They always increase by 1 unless it's a 6. I mean, unless the d6 results in a 1. The ability is then reduced by 1, but never to below -3. So there's a safety net there with that. Otherwise, let's see. Results equal to greater than the ability, increase it by 1 to a maximum of plus 6. So if I had any really a bit +2 or higher, that's when that kind of kicks in because of this little safety net down below where I only roll a 1, it causes a problem. So if I'm going to roll, see what happens to my strength. And I rolled a 1, so my strength does go down. Okay, let me adjust that on my character sheet. Well, fortunately, I don't do a lot of strength-based stuff, or I haven't so far. Let's see what happens to my agility, which is also at a 0. I rolled a 5, so that does go up by 1. So probably what's happened is this adventure has physically taken a lot out of Eldar. He was kind of only recently recovered from being near death, and he goes out on this adventure, and then he gets banged up. He's not a warrior by trade, but he got put in a lot of physical danger. So that's probably what's happening here. My presence is a +1. This is the one where you really don't want to lose that, because that's what really governs his use of his powers. But that's the way the game works. And I roll a 2. So my presence is going to go up to a +2. And now my toughness, I rolled a 1. So my toughness is +1. It's going to go down to 0. I think what that means is I'm actually going to have to adjust my hit points downward. Actually, the book doesn't say to do that, so I guess I get to keep my hit points. You start off with a toughness plus a die roll, so I did gain the benefit of a hit point when my toughness was a +1. But, I mean, I could see, if you consider every time you could lose a lot of hit points that way. So I guess I get to keep my 10 hit points. That's good. I do need to roll treasure for the I guess the final monster and the goblins. It's a D66 roll. There were 5 goblins. First one I roll a 22. That is a necklace of human teeth. Yuck. The next roll is 36, which gives me a tortured pixie with torn wings and eyes gouged out. Oh man, that's awful. Next, I get 55, bloodstained knuckle duster. And finally, 44, death mask of one of the PCs. That's wow. So my own death mask. That's bizarre. And finally, we need to figure out what would have been in the monsters. I'm going to switch back to the solitary defilement because that seemed like that wasn't supposed to be one of the special rooms. It turned out to be something really important. So let's see what solitary defilement tells us about that. Okay, so this will be a D12. This is the 2D20 roll. It's a kind of an adventuring move against omens. When I actually defeated the monster, I didn't have any omens left, so I'm just going to roll straight at 2D20 with no bonus. DR12, and I got a 13. I picked up a D12 instead of a D10 for the other 20. Let me roll another D20. 13 and a 16, so that is a strong hit. So I roll a D4 to tell me what I find. And I roll a 3. An item of worth. Use the useful items oracle. That is a D6. I roll a 2, and it is a D4 plus 1 roll on armor. Wow. 3 plus 1 is 4. Oh wow, there's a suit of armor in there. So this would be heavy armor, like splint or plate armor. I'm not forbidden from using this armor necessarily. I can't. Scrolls will never work when we're wearing heavy or medium armor. So I obviously can't do it and continue to access my powers. But nothing actually stops me from putting on armor and grabbing a sword and walking around like some kind of warrior if I choose to. But let's see what it does to my inventory because I could sell it if it's useful. So apparently, one of the creators, Pele, I think it's Pele Nielsen, has said it's deliberately vague regarding encumbrance in the core book, but in my mind, you can carry armor and one weapon and not count those items. But so that's his intention, but he leaves it up to this. The other Johan Nor, the other creator, said, "When I do track, I decide on a case by case basis with the players." So again, this is very up to interpretation. I'm going to say this: the character sheet gives you room for 2 weapons, 4 scrolls, and armor before it lists your other equipment. So I'm going to say those don't count. There's a note in the book that scrolls count as 1 item in your equipment. I suppose though, I guess you have to list them over on powers if you have scrolls, but that's not the actual scroll. So we'll say the scrolls count. But you can roll all your scrolls up together. The sheaf or if you've got scrolls, that's 1 item slot. I lost a slot because my strength went down, so I can carry 8 items plus your strength. So I'm limited to 7 items. I'm going to try putting on this armor so I can haul it out of here, and I may not use it for the long term because he is more of a power or spell based character, but that will at least let me maybe recoup some money for it. I also think I've got a big dog that's a big massive. I think I could probably fashion some sort of, I don't think you give him a saddlebags or a backpack, but probably some sort of crude litter to help so he can drag some stuff behind him. Um, we'll see how that works. But because I can also collect a few things. I got these little knickknacks from the goblins, um, but they also had daggers and bows, so I could potentially. I don't think the spirit of the game is to cart all that loot out, but uh, maybe a spare knife or a spare dagger, slip it in a bag to carry with me.
And there you have it, the first adventure of Eldar Rotten Toe. Um, yeah, he survived. I did not fudge any of those dice. I'm kind of a little surprised he survived. My understanding with Borg is there's some high lethality early on, but once the characters earn a couple of advancements, they become pretty resilient. And now you're just kind of playing to see, how long it takes for the world to end. Anyway, please let me know what you think now that it's all over with. Give me a call, give me a message. Either through Discord or through SpeakPipe or by email. Um, but I appreciate any feedback you got. And I don't know, we may come back to Mörk Borg with Eldar. I might try something else. I think I need to take a little break and cleanse the palate a little bit. That turned out to be a little more work than I thought it was going to be when I started out. Anyway, until I'm back, until next time, wherever you are out there, please take care of yourself and make someone happy today. Thanks for listening to the Arcane Alienist podcast. The music you're hearing is Come and Get It by Scott Holmes Music. The cover art is by Dave Bone. Be sure to check out his stuff at ironseer.com. You can leave me a message. I have my SpeakPipe account linked to the show description. You can also send me an email at arcane.alienist@gmail.com. Just embed a voice memo, or I'll just read the text to your email during a future episode. Once again, thanks so much for listening.